We're often led to believe that we have to choose between high performance and taking care of ourselves. This is a concept I fundamentally don't agree with. This video is sponsored by Thrive Market. Hey guys, it's Robin and welcome to the Science of Self-Care. On this channel, we talk about health science, we talk about life philosophy, and we do a whole lot of self-care experimentation. I'm so excited for today's video because I fundamentally believe that productivity and self-care are complementary and not at odds. Yet so often in society, I feel like we are sold this message that to be a super high performer, we have to compromise our mental health or our self-care or personal wellness in any way. And I just believe that's absolutely not true. So in this video, I'm going to discuss different lifestyle tips and habits that have helped me become both the most productive version of myself and the healthiest, happiest version of myself. Right now, that's how I feel. So I'm passionate about this. Let's get into it. Number 1. Fresh air and good air circulation. I think this is something a lot of us forget about. If we work in big office buildings, usually the ventilation system will be pretty good, but most of our homes don't have the greatest ventilation system. So if you are spending an entire day working in your home, make sure to get outside, get some fresh air, open some windows, open a door for a moment just to kind of circulate that air around. If you're in a very small confined space for a long period of time, you are breathing up the oxygen in that space, consuming it, and breathing out carbon dioxide. It's really important to make sure that as you're working for hours and hours in one place, you are continuously getting enough oxygen. It sounds so silly, but it really is so important. So anytime I'm feeling kind of stuck mentally, I will just open a window, I will step outside, I will also turn on my air purifier, just making sure that the air quality in the space where I'm working consistently stays good. This can make a huge difference to our productivity and our health in the long run. Number 2, minimizing decision fatigue. The more micro decisions we have to make throughout the early day, the harder it is to reserve that mental energy and that bandwidth for the important work that we need to do to reach our goals. So something I like to do is have very basic formulas for things. For example, when I get dressed every morning, there is a very basic formula. I wear the same pair of pants almost every day. I have 3 pairs of this pair of pants, and I wear a simple dark top on top. And that's kind of my formula to get dressed, feel ready for the day, and not have to think too much. Obviously, if you're someone who really likes to express your style through your fashion, by all means do that. But for me personally, the way I dress, if it feels somewhat like me and it's simple and it's functional, then I'm happy. I do the same thing with cooking. There's a formula for my meals. So for example, dinner, when I cook dinner for my husband and myself almost every single night, there is a basic formula I will follow. Obviously, if we have guests over or if it's a special occasion, I will deviate from that formula. But on a daily basis, I just want something that tastes good, is nourishing, and is gonna help me be my best self. I basically make a quote-unquote bowl of some sort every single night. The bottom of this bowl is part grains, part greens. So for example, you can have some brown rice and kale, and then I will top that with a good source of healthy protein, some more intricate vegetables, maybe some sauteed Brussels sprouts, for example, and some fatty, hearty toppings for flavoring, maybe some nuts, some tahini, some interesting dressing, or some seeds, seasonings. Obviously, there are so many different permutations of this dinner, so I make sure when I do groceries, I have these different options. I also have a favorite breakfast that I tend to eat every single morning. I think breakfast is one of the best meals to autopilot. It plays such an important role in how we feel for the rest of the day. And if you do intermittent fasting, then your breakfast might be at noon or 1 p.m. But that first meal is really gonna dictate our productivity later on. So I always make sure my breakfast includes a hearty dose of protein. For me, my favorite personal breakfast is protein oatmeal. So I will make steel cut oats with a lot of protein powder, and then I'll add nuts and seeds and all sorts of other things. And it keeps me full so long. It helps my digestive system. Other people might not like starting the day off with oatmeal. meal. They might want something a little bit lower carb, like an omelet. Whatever works for you, if you find a breakfast that is your kind of go-to, makes you feel amazing, stick with it. I see so many nutrition plans online where every day the breakfast is different, the lunch is different, the dinner is different. Personally, it just makes life and healthy eating a lot more complicated. You can still have a lot of variety within the confines of a little formula that you follow 90% of the time. Speaking of making healthy eating simple, I'd like to share the sponsor of today's video, Thrive Market. We're gonna go through a grocery haul that I recently got. I'm gonna talk you through some of the thinking of why I ordered these things and how I like to incorporate them into a healthy meal plan. I am so excited to dig into this box. This is my Thrive Market order. If you don't know what Thrive Market is, it is an online membership grocery store, kind of like Costco, but everything is healthy, whole foods, really good brands, good ingredients. They have a lot of my favorite health food brands that are really hard to find in other places, like RX Sugar and Blue Stripes and Wild Planet. I love all of these brands. They can be a little bit pricey, so it's nice to shop on Thrive Market where everything is a little bit cheaper. They actually have a price matching guarantee. If you find a product for cheaper, they will match that price. Because my husband and I don't own a car, it's really nice to have these pantry staples delivered to our house, and then my husband will actually pick up fresh produce on his way back from work. I like to get a lot of sources of protein, so there's always a source of protein in my house. One of my favorites is collagen. This is the Great Lakes Wellness Collagen. Good price, great taste. Add this to smoothies, add this to oatmeal. Tomorrow I'm actually going on a short trip, so I'll be traveling, and I love taking these sorts of little snacks in my purse, in my handbag, wherever I go, I have a source of protein. So my grandmother always taught me to have at least one meal ready to go out of pantry staples. This would be mine. Black rice plus hearts of palm that I would mix for a 50-50 vegetable grain base. I would top it with some Wild Planet pink salmon and then have some seaweed on the side. So you get some really nice flavors going together, super healthy, super quick. Thrive Market is especially great for anyone who has specific dietary restrictions or dietary preferences. They have gluten-free section, vegan section, paleo, keto, Whole30, all the different diets you can think of. You can organize that on Thrive and make shopping a little bit easier. If you want to try Thrive Market yourself, you can click the link in my description box or go to thrivemarket.com/scienceofselfcare to receive 30% off your first order and a free gift worth up to $60. Now let's get back to all things productivity and self-care. Number 3. Movement brainstorms. I cannot underscore enough how helpful movement is for me personally in coming up with really interesting ideas. I think we often, if we have to be productive or come up with ideas, park ourselves at our desk and kind of force something to come out, when I found that sometimes releasing that and actually going for a walk or going on the vibration plate or dancing around or any sort of physical activity can actually get the ideas flowing more. And even this video I actually wrote while I was walking. Personally, it just really helps the ideas flow. It's blood circulation, it's diffusive awareness. So don't underestimate a good movement brainstorm. Number 4. Setting boundaries. So about 2 years ago, I read this book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. Maybe it was 3 or 4 years ago at this point, but it does a great job of outlining the importance of protecting our time and our mental energy. And a lot of times when we feel overstressed and overworked, it's because we haven't protected that time and mental energy furiously enough, and we've overstepped some of our own boundaries. It's important to remember that our days and our hours are extremely precious. So if something doesn't align with you, if you only feel like you have to say yes out of obligation to someone, that's not a great reason to say yes to something. And this can ultimately also result in resentment towards another person. If you keep doing things and overstepping your boundary, you're going to start to resent the person that is prompting you to overstep your boundaries. So by learning to assert boundaries of our time and our mental energy, it can actually improve our relationships with other people, because then we can show up when we really want to genuinely show up for people, and we can give our time and our mental energy more authentically and more selflessly. I'm speaking in kind of vague terms here, but if you find this topic relevant to you, I highly recommend reading this book. You know, eating well and exercising well is important, but managing stress levels is crucial for our long-term health and well-being, and setting boundaries can really help us reduce the stress burden in our lives. Number 5. Knowing yourself and your chronotype. This is something I am so incredibly passionate about because the way that I work and I am most productive does not fit the standard mold of how most people work. And this is something I really struggled when I was younger in elementary school to sit down and concentrate for hours on end. I work best and think best when I'm able to move about and I'm able to create my own schedule. I recently made a video about chronotypes, which is our natural circadian rhythm and our sleep cycle, but not just our sleep cycle. We also have energy cycles during our waking periods. We all have unique ebbs and flows of energy throughout the day, and really tuning in and understanding when we work best can help us prioritize doing our most valuable tasks when we're sharpest mentally, and then putting other tasks like meetings or social events at the times when we're maybe a little bit less mentally sharp, but more open and fluid. Listen to your intuition of when you work best and try to lean into that as much as possible. I don't just mean chronologically in your day, I also mean different environments. I've gotten better now that I have a walking desk, but I used to find it so hard to create anything meaningful when I was sitting at a desk with a blank page or a blank screen in front of me. So I ended up writing my thesis when I studied biomedical sciences. I wrote that partially sitting on a rock. I would literally walk in nature, sit on a rock, write something on my phone, walk around, sit on a rock, write something on my phone. And it is so bizarre, but it worked for me. And so I'm not saying that's gonna work for you, but the point is you probably have an intuition of how you work best, how you create best. So even when watching this video, there may be things that feel super relevant to you and others that do not. And honestly, don't listen to the things that you don't recognize yourself in. And if you have a boss or employer who you need to answer to, make sure to communicate your needs as an employee. 9 times out of 10, a good boss will help work with you and your schedule and your preferences. All this to say, tune in to what's gonna work for you and use that as your compass. Feel confident in using that as your compass. Number 6. Prioritize quality sleep. I know this is so cliche, but it has to be on the list because it is so incredibly important, but I'll run through it quickly. When I was younger, if I had exams, I would cram, I would do all-nighters. It might feel like it's a way to be hyper-productive, but that is not productivity in the long run. How we are going to be productive is getting good quality sleep, which supports our hormones, our concentration the next day. Literally, the way that we process food and our blood sugar response will be different if we haven't slept enough. So as much as possible, try to engineer your lifestyle so that you can get enough sleep and sleep at consistent hours day after day. Some common tips for better sleep are to get morning light exposure to help solidify that circadian rhythm. That doesn't even have to be sunlight. It can be a light lamp if you live in a place with not that much light. Also making sure that your sleep environment is conducive to deep quality sleep. Turning down the lights, turning down the temperature to whatever feels comfortable for you. People have different sleep preferences. But if you are sound sensitive and light sensitive, potentially investing in an eye mask and earplugs, these little things can make a big difference. Number 7, reducing short-form social media consumption. I understand the irony of this because I'm talking about this on YouTube, which is a social media platform, but consuming short-form social media specifically, it not only is highly addictive in that it is algorithmically optimized to capture our attention and get us in kind of this flow state of consuming stuff. So you end up spending a lot more time than you maybe want to consuming that sort of media. It goes beyond the time that we actually spend. If you spend 1 hour scrolling on Instagram, the trade-off is much greater than that 1 hour on Instagram. You are also trading off your ability to focus and do deep work outside of that 1 hour. A great book on this topic is called Digital Minimalism, and it really did a great job of painting a picture of all the trade-offs we're making when we are on social media. We are having fewer in-person connections with people. We are sacrificing our ability to concentrate. Obviously, I'm talking about this on social media, but for me personally, I found that podcasts and long-form YouTube videos have been really beneficial. I have learned so much on YouTube. I feel like a good litmus test is, can you remember what you learned from the hour that you spend on that social media platform? Can you even remember what you watched? A lot of times with short-form content, it's just a blur of dopamine and you don't even remember what you've watched. Whereas if I spend an hour watching 2 really good long-form videos that teach me about business and about finance, I'm going to be able to remember and recall recall what I learned and actually implement that into my life. So that's why I specifically have a limit set on my phone for short form content. Number 8, work with people you like as much as possible. This one is sometimes something we feel like we have no control over, especially if we work within a company structure. But I just want to remind you that you are the ultimate captain who is steering the ship of your life. So if you are working with people you genuinely don't enjoy being around, see if you can start to make changes to another environment. Where we work and where we spend the majority of our working day is going to have a huge impact on our mental health, on our energy levels, and ideally we want to be around people who inspire us and fuel us up and not constantly drain our batteries, because then we're just going to be swimming against a tide in our life. At the end of the day, humans are wired for connection, so the people that we spend a lot of time with every single day will absolutely dictate our happiness and our stress levels. So if it's not currently the case for you that you feel like you're working with people who support you and you enjoy working around, then maybe it's something to start steering towards in the future. You are the captain of your life. You have the power to make these sorts of changes. Number 9, don't kill yourself working out. Now, this might be a controversial one because I do love me some David Goggins, hype mode workouts. That can be a really great way to process things and to fight stress. Sometimes we need to let it out in some crazy, insane way, and then you feel really accomplished afterwards. But in general, I personally try to make my workouts not hard, but fun, because this allows me to not use up too much of my daily willpower on forcing myself to work out. So even if I go to sometimes a yoga or Pilates class, I might take it kind of easy in that class just so that it remains really fun for me and I never have any resistance going to work out. This not only allows me to show up consistently, I actually love working out because of my relationship to it, but it also means that my workout time doubles as a time of fun and enjoyment so that when I get home, I don't feel the need to decompress from my day by numbing my mind on social media, for example, because I was able to decompress in my workout. So even though I love David Goggins and I've read all of his books and gotten a lot from them, I do not push myself to a crazy degree, especially not on a daily basis. In general, I make my exercise joyful. Number 10. Eat blood sugar balanced meals. Making sure that our meals are well balanced nutritionally is so important for not only our health, but our ability to think clearly throughout the day, our mood, our energy. I personally notice if I start my day with a crappy, unbalanced breakfast, I will physically feel unwell, but I will also mentally not be able to concentrate well, and then my productivity for the day is just out the window. Or maybe not out the window, but it's a lot less than if I eat something good, nourishing, satiating. So how can we make a blood sugar balancing meal? Probably the most important thing that I include in every single meal is a source of protein. This protein doesn't even have to be eaten with your meal. There's something called protein preloading, which is what I do a lot of times, where I eat protein first, then I will eat something with a bit more carbohydrates. Other things that can help lower the glycemic impact of our meal are the fiber content, the water content. I recently made a video on allulose and how that might even help mitigate our blood sugar response to foods. There's so many great resources on YouTube on how to balance your blood sugar. Last thing to say about blood sugar, what can also help blunt a blood sugar spike after a meal is going for a walk. I've actually worked with a company where every day they would eat lunch together and then all go on a walk around the campus together, which was so cute. Not only social bonding, but it also helps blood sugar response. So I think that's a great habit in an office workplace. If you can find someone to eat lunch with and then go on a little post-lunch walk, that's great for blood sugar. Number 11, iterate slowly over time. Now, there have been seasons of my life where I did feel like it was helpful to do this chaotic, massive, huge transformation all at once. But honestly, the most long-term positive changes I've made in my life have come from small iterations I've made over time. It kind of touches upon one of my favorite points that I remember reading about in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks about standardizing a habit before you optimize it. So if you want to go to the gym every day and you are committing to go to the gym every day, don't make it about going to the gym every day for 1 hour and doing an intense workout. First, work on the habit of physically bringing yourself to the gym. So go to the gym, spend 5 minutes there, go home. Go to the gym, spend 5 minutes there, go home. And then you can slowly optimize, spend a little bit longer, do a little harder workouts until the point that you've iterated so many times that you're in a completely different place that the past you would have thought is impossible to get to. So for me personally, I'm a fan of small micro changes and letting that compound over time rather than doing some crazy life swoop. There is a time and place for that. I've done it several times, and sometimes life just throws a crazy transition period at you and you kind of have to reinvent yourself. But if you're not necessarily in a period of reinventing your entire identity, then I think it's really helpful to iterate in these small ways. Because also when we change one thing at a time, we get a better understanding of what that one thing is doing for us in our life. When we change a bunch of things at once, it can be hard to understand the relationship between a behavior and an outcome. With skincare as well, I'm always iterating slowly, trying one new product at a time, seeing how it makes my skin feel, seeing how it makes my skin look. Is it improving it? Is it making my skin worse? And after I understand the outcomes associated to that one thing, I can move on to exploring the outcomes associated with another thing. Number 12. Visualize yourself loving work. This one is touching on a topic I definitely want to discuss more in the future. There are so many studies to support the practice of visualization. Every single type of work, even me, I would say I'm currently doing my dream job, which is being self-employed, making cool videos, doing marketing content. I love the work that I do, but there are times I have to do things that I don't want to do, and that's just part of it. And so instead of begrudgingly doing those things, I will often visualize myself loving doing those things. For example, when I was writing a literature review in grad school, I had so much resistance to doing it. I felt repulsed by the idea. It was also during COVID, so I think that was an extra layer. So every day for several weeks, I would spend 5 minutes visualizing myself at my computer, typing up my literature review, smiling. I would visualize myself smiling, loving the process, and lo and behold, it helped me actually type at my computer, smile, and love the process. And in the end, it was quite painless to write this literature review, but I think imagining myself enjoying it was a key part to not going into it with such a negative attitude. So that's something I still do today. So whatever you have to shovel, imagine yourself smiling while doing it. This is not only great for your productivity and getting stuff done, especially the stuff that you keep putting off, but it's also great for our mental health and our stress levels. If we have a positive mindset going into something, it's gonna be a lot less stressful. I would love to know if you have any tips or habits that help you become both productive and a better, healthier version of yourself. There's undoubtedly thousands of more ways to combine productivity and self-care, and I want to hear your tips and tricks. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.